Hello Internet, welcome back to this new part of the series of GPhC exam revision. It's getting close to the date, so we're trying to push out as much content as possible. One thing that we're doing, if you do get this today, is we're doing a question marathon on our blog, which I'll put up the URL here. It's via Blogger. If you type in GPhC exam, it will come up. Basically, every hour we're going to be putting out a question with a answer with like an in-depth response from one of our tutors. We want as many people to comment as possible and really get involved with questions and coming back and forth. If it does get really popular, we will do some sort of webinar or something to follow it up. Anyway, this section is on the drug tariff. We've gone over the MEP calculations and a lot of other things, but the drug tariff really seems to get neglected. This is the dreaded book. It doesn't really come as a book anymore. It's all online, which you can get from ppa.org.uk. They took it out of the Open Book reference resource as it's really bulky and it's difficult to use, and a lot of the stuff that you really need to know off by heart anyway. So they put it all online. So nevertheless, you do need to know quite a bit of it. Some key parts, and we're not going to go over everything, just the really kind of essentials today. The first part is definitions. A second part is professional fees, so pharmacy contractors, how pharmacies get paid. The next is knowing the difference between essential, advanced, and enhanced services. Next one is endorsements. They can ask you questions about limited stability endorsements, broken bulk endorsements, measured and fitted endorsements. So there's quite a few additional things that you can add onto the prescription to get a bit more money. Payments in respects of pre-registration trainees. This isn't hugely important, but you do need to know it exists. Borderline substances, notes on charges, i.e., if someone comes in with a product, a medicine, and it's a tablet and a capsule, but it's the same medicine, say, I don't know, ibuprofen 200 milligram, would you charge two charges? Well, you wouldn't. Dental prescribing and when that's applicable. You also need to know things like emergency supplies, which we'll go over. So definitions. This part is right at the beginning and is often overlooked. However, you need to know, firstly, what a special is. A special is an unlicensed medicine which is manufactured in the UK for human use, which have been specially prepared to meet a prescription ordered for an individual patient without the need for a manufacturer to hold a marketing authorization for the medicinal product. So it's a bespoke pharmacy nostrum which is made in a sterile laboratory for a doctor who's kind of wants something very bespoke for that patient. It could be a cream, it could be that the patient can't swallow tablets, so they need a solution. So you get things like enalapril as a solution. The other important definition is imported products. So imported products are unlicensed medicinal products sourced from outside the UK under an importer's license, usually issued by the MHRA. It's kind of usually temporary. These products have been specially sourced to meet a prescription ordered for individual patients without the need for an importer to hold a marketing authorization for the medicinal product concerned. Really good resources, the PSNC, can never say that properly, the Pharmacy Services Negotiating Commission as well, and they're the people who debate with the NHS how much pharmacy contractors should get paid for items and prescription charge and so forth. And this is the people that they deal with. They're called the PPA, so the Prescription Pricing Authority. They are sometimes called the PPD, so Prescription Pricing Department. However, you just got to know the relationship between the PPA, the PSNC, and pharmacies, in that the PSNC is fighting the corner. It's almost like a union of like-minded pharmacists to try and show the worth to the NHS, and the PPA are really the people who pay pharmacies at the end of the day. So next is really key concepts. There are a lot more concepts that you need to know during this, but these are like the really, really core ones. All drugs are allowed on the NHS unless they are on the blacklist. So the blacklist is a certain part within the drug tariff which specifies certain drugs which aren't allowed. See, in the exam they can't really ask you, is this drug on the blacklist, because that's a direct reference question. but they can ask you kind of conceptual questions about where you would source this information, how would you check, what book would you resource, and it's always going to be the drug tariff. Also, for appliances, the blacklist is kind of the opposite way around. The appliance needs to be on the appliance list, and this goes for chemical reagents as well, for it to be allowed on the NHS. So key questions you really got to ask yourself in that: can a particular prescription be accepted for NHS dispensing? So, FP10s, is it legal? You've got to have those rules kind of set in your mind. Did the prescriber have the appropriate authority to prescribe? So can dentists prescribe the same as what doctors do and independent prescribers? Can the product be prescribed at the NHS's expense? Is it on the blacklist? Is it acceptable? If it's a controlled drug prescription, does the prescription meet various CD requirements? A lot of this is covered in the MEP, but because the MEP's kind of been removed, it's good to know it from two different sources. And a foreign patient asks for an equivalent drug to one they have abroad. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, you've got to know the pharmacy contract. You've got to know the difference between essential, enhanced, and advanced services. Essential services for me are those which every pharmacy must do, like dispensing NHS prescriptions. Believe it or not, if you're being paid as an NHS contractor, which most pharmacies are, there is a legal responsibility for that pharmacist to take FP10s from NHS patients and dispense them. They're not legally allowed not to dispense it unless it's like a clinical scenario. The PPA pays pharmacies direct for reaching something called a threshold, and this stands at around 2,200 prescriptions a month at the moment. And this is really to ensure that there aren't too many small cost inefficient pharmacies around. Just a bit of knowledge that there's 13,000 pharmacies in the UK and 60,000 pharmacists. I find that a really useful statistic. Enhanced services are those which the pharmacy already provides, but they've been locally or nationally commissioned. A good example is smoking cessation or EHC. So with smoking cessation, you can sell Nicorette patches, nicotine patches which they stick on, but the government says, oh, because this is a national priority, we can give you a bit more money, and hence the commissioning, hence the enhanced service. And lastly, you have advanced services. These include medicine use reviews, which is the prescription intervention service, really. The new medicine service, you need to be aware about this. It targets high-risk patients and respiratory patients. Stoma customization and appliance use reviews, which are really medicines use reviews, but for appliances. Make sure you know which one is used for which, because I think this is going to be an expanding kind of question as pharmacies are getting more into services. I think they're going to ask more questions about it in the future. So also you've got to know all your key endorsements. Talked a little bit about broken bulk, talked a little bit about limited stability. This is an example. So amoxicillin 125 5 mils for two bottles. You've got to know that each day that patient's going to be taking 15 mils. So each bottle, when it's made up, lasts for 7 days. So if you do the maths, 100 divided by 15 is, I think, around 7 and a bit. But if they have 2 bottles, you can't make both up in the pharmacy and give it to the patient, because the second bottle, which they'll take in the second week, would have gone out of date because it's reconstituted. So with that, what you're supposed to do is make one bottle up, write LS, limited stability, on the prescription, and then make an owing for the second bottle so the patient comes back. The government recognises that this is more work, and therefore the LS endorsement is used to recognise this and give contractors a bit more money. So here's a quick question. As I said, I'm not going to go through all the endorsements, but what would you put on this prescription? I know it's for Mickey Mouse, and you probably think it's fraudulent. I didn't know you live in Liverpool. But what are you thinking with this? Is it broken bulk? Can you apply it? No. Is it limited? But no. Is it MF? So measured and fitted. It's something you can apply when you measure someone for a certain stocking. So there's lots more to know. We're now covering this within the Ultimate GPhC Registration Assessment Guide, which there's a new edition coming out quite soon. So stay ahead of the curve, and please subscribe to Pharmacy CPA.